Well, hello everyone. It's Michael from SchoolAdvice. To give you a little background, SchoolAdvice is an educational consulting firm that I started about 10 years ago after retiring from a long career of private education in a variety of private schools. And I'm welcoming everyone here to a brief webinar that will cover the topic of online high school education, which is something newer rather than older, and something that's gaining steam throughout the education community. So without much further ado, I'm going to load up my agenda here. Give me 1 second. And here we are. We're looking at our title page. So tonight's webinar is Online Secondary School. And here's the agenda for tonight. I'm looking down to read it as well. We're going to look at who are likely candidates for online education, the schools that offer secondary education services online, the cost of these services, how does the schedule work, writing exams, how does that work? Is the high school diploma recognized by universities and colleges? What about extra help? And something called facilitated online education. Okay, so first off, candidates. Who would be likely to want to take advantage of this? Well, the kind of obvious first choice are those students that are involved in either sports or other professional careers, acting, what have you, things that keep them on the move and put them in a position where they're not able to attend a regular school. So online education works very well for that kind of student. But what we see happening now is a great number of students international students are coming to Canada to attend Canadian educational institutions with the hope of eventually going on to either Canadian or American universities. This can now be done online, and this enables students who don't have the money to either travel and live in Canada to go to a fancy boarding school or to live in a homestay situation. They can stay home and get the education they need and want in order to fulfill their next goal, which is university in a North American or European setting. So international students, a big new option for them, others to avoid the travel. Another group of students who we see enrolling in online education are those students that are very talented, creative, sometimes gifted in nature, and regular schooling is just something that is very laborious for them. It tunes them out. It doesn't go at a quick enough clip. And this has become a really good alternative for those exceptionally bright students who want to fulfill the need of documentation and getting their formal degree in a quicker and different manner. It's also a huge component of what is a growing market. In fact, one of the fastest growing areas for education is homeschooling. The difficulty with homeschooling is one still needs to have the proper credentials in order to apply to a university. So what we see happening now is many families are having their kids enroll in the online program and get their documentation that way. So these are some of the individuals you would see using online services. Okay, moving on to our next screen. What are some of the schools that offer online education? Well, I've been associated with 3 or 4 of these. I've been in touch with them. We've worked with some of these schools. And the number one on my hit list is Virtual High School. This is an amazing organization. It's located on the shores of Lake Huron in Ontario, started by an ex-chemistry teacher like myself. And they have a staff of in-house of about 70 educators. They develop their own content. They have literally thousands of students enrolled from all over the world, and they run a premier program. Their curriculum is above and beyond what is required by the Ministry of Education in Ontario. So students there can either hop in and enroll in a course or two if they're missing credits, or they can complete their entire high school, beginning at the grade 8 level all the way up to grade 12, and graduate with an Ontario Secondary School Diploma. Virtual High School is a registered Ontario high school with the Ministry of Education, and I can tell you firsthand, I highly recommend it. Blythe Academy is another long-time Ontario-based online institution. Blythe actually started as a brick and mortar set of schools. There's about 20 odd schools in Ontario and some in Europe as well. They recently migrated to online education as part of their program. And excuse me, just diverted by my phone there. Blythe Academy was purchased in a fairly big merger about 1.5 years ago with an organization out of Spain, NACE Schools Group. A lot of consolidation going on in the independent school market. So Blythe is now part of a much bigger group of schools. But they too have a very, very sound online education program that graduates students with an OSSD as well. Ontario Virtual School, another well-known Ontario-based online school. Fulford Academy, recently offering online education as they try to increase their enrollment of international students in a virtual way. And more schools are beginning to offer online education. Now, schools that don't want to implement their own program are licensing the online programs that are offered by Virtual High School and Blythe Academy. You will find, if you search through SchoolAdvice and look at many of the schools we have on profile, many of them offering online education are actually offering the curriculum of these primary schools. Virtual High School, for instance, is the provider of the grade 12 program at Kells Academy in Montreal. In Quebec, grade 11 is the top end of high school years. After that, students go on to CEGEP here. But grade 12 is offered in a few schools in Quebec, which allows students to graduate and go directly to university, skipping the CEGEP level, going direct to university in Ontario or other provinces or in the United States. So Kells offers a grade 12 program that is the virtual high school program. Okay, so these are some of the schools that are out there. What does it cost? Courses vary. I would say about $500 a course is kind of average. That might be a bit low. It may be pushing closer to $600 now. For those students who need to take 1 or 2 courses to complete their diploma, this is a pretty good deal. If you're going to enroll for the entire year, 10 to 12 credits, so courses, it's around $5,500, somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000. Other costs, well, there are transcripts costs. If you are an international student and you are coming from a school, let's say in China, India, France, and you want to find what the equivalency is of the credits already taken, someone like Virtual High School, Blythe Academy, they will have someone in place to take your transcript and they will translate the courses you have on record. They will match them up with Ontario courses, and you will get credit equivalency. There's a cost for that, somewhere around $300 to $400 to sort of book you in and get credit equivalency. Proctors, when you write exams, often you need to be accompanied by a recognized educator who is a secured proctor. That can cost, depending on the on who you hire, can cost maybe $100 or $200. Finally, community service is part of every graduation program, and there may be some additional costs for you to enroll in a community service program in your local community that will be recognized by the Ontario Ministry of Education. So these are the essential costs. When you compare it to other private education, it's fairly reasonable. Next screen. What's your schedule like? Well, this is really a very exciting part about online education. This is really up to the person taking the course. We've had students who actually take one course at a time and do it at a very accelerated rate. For instance, you might need a physics credit. And as we all know, if you go to traditional school, that's going to happen over a 10-month period. And you're going to go to class at a particular time, and you're going to be in the same place everybody else is at throughout the year. In online education, you set your own pace, you move at your own pace, and you decide how quickly you're going to go. So if you are looking to complete something as quickly as possible, you can literally work on the curriculum and program 7 days a week, as much as you want, and get through it as quickly as you want. We've had several students cover as much as 2 years in 1 year. Exams. How do exams work? Well, exams have to be proctored in some cases. There is an English proficiency test that's required by the Ontario Ministry. You need a recognized, authorized educator, someone who is a teacher, to proctor that exam. For other exams, like course exams, you may be proctored, and in some cases you may actually be sitting in front of a camera, much like you would be sitting in a classroom being watched by a teacher. So different strategies, different options are used for exams. But the big thing to keep in mind is that all of these schools use a variety of techniques to measure whether or not students are, well, frankly, cheating or gaming on the exam, using a ringer or an experienced person to help them through it. Strongly advise you don't do that, because the schools will pick up on that happening. They're looking at a lot of data, and they look for outliers and oddities and act on it. Is my online degree recognized? It absolutely is, because all of these online schools are registered, accredited schools in the Ontario system. A degree they issue is as good as any public school degree, any private school degree. What's different between online and going to a school like, let's say, Appleby or Branksome, or a school with a named private school, you don't have the prestige or the connections you would have coming out of a standard, well-known institution. But on paper, you are as equal as any other graduate. So yes, it's a useful, recognized degree, no matter where you go in Canada or the US or elsewhere in the world. So that pretty much covers that part of the of the webinar. What I want to leave you with is at SchoolAdvice, we work with the online schools and we work with families who've enrolled in online programs. And we do assist students working in that environment. And we also offer what we call facilitated online education. And this is an environment where students do their program online, but they need more than just themselves sitting in front of the screen. They can't remain focused, or they need more of a social atmosphere, or they like to be in a classroom setting, or at least have a teacher nearby. So at SchoolAdvice, we provide that kind of circumstance for those families that need it. So what I'm going to leave you with here at the end of the webinar is a look at a video we've produced on facilitated online education. And I'm going to load that up for you momentarily. Give me 1 second here. And we're going to put that up in our video player. So thank you for attending tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So thanks again for your time. Have a great evening. See you next time.